Why only Death Slingers? Something had to give. I had to make cuts to fit cards in to fit in the ratios that I have and the options that I have. And Slinger felt like it was less important than Barrage because so many games were lost off of not having Barrage. Though to be honest, if I maybe the extra Slinger might have helped in that scenario where I needed to just mill two memory gain to win the game two, but I needed to mill two memory gains, which I saw like not enough of. So I don't think that would have. I don't think that I don't think it would have butterflied affected my way into winning that game if I had um, the slingers. So that's fine. Two missed mem. Sorry, it was covered up by the barrages. I'm on two missed mem and three I Mako as my three memory do nothing cards, which are pretty good. I'm really liking Mist, especially. Maybe swapping an Imako for Mist might be correct, like the way the JP Nationals guy was doing. But Imako is such a nice consistency booster sometimes. Unless it whips on the specific piece that you need, in which case it's Sag. Really wish it found me the Balmon game one, but it didn't. So that's kind of sad. Maybe because of that, it should lose its place in my deck for something else. Can you do double clustered pop BLX and deletion in the stuff it pops too? Yes. I've answered this before on the stream. Um, the, you two clusters trigger, one resolves, then because the on deletion is the newest triggered effect, it resolves first, then your second trigger can resolve. So that's part of the reason why I run two is that I want to have that happen. But sadly, I didn't have enough. If I had the two clusters, that would have been super awesome, and I would have been like over to the moon, and I might have like taken that game too, but I didn't. So gotta live with it, I guess, right? And the reason why I didn't cluster to delete the Bales at the end there is because it was Bales X. It would have floated into either BT6 Imp or into Imp X, and he would have been able to use that to recur something to I don't know to win the game anyway. Is what I was thinking, right? So it didn't feel like it was worth it. Maybe I should have. Maybe it would have made a difference. I don't know. With in hindsight, because Barrage was in security, maybe, but like in my mind, if I deleted it, he could go like into Balmon for one, slide under X ante, swing Robin to Biel's X ante mid swing, and then I would have been even deader. And I felt like Biel's X was like it's there, but like other than the fact that it can evolve into Blast, but it wasn't doing all that much. Any changes I would make, I don't know. There's like a there's I might try out um, Luca's list, which is a lot more heavier on the BT2 imps. Maybe that's the route. More BT2 imps to get more aggressive with. So that was something I was considering. You're still floating between 3 and 4 copies of EX2 PLs. That makes sense. I'm on two because I wanted to cut one to fit another Balmon in so that I'd see them more consistently. Like you saw game one, I didn't see Balmon, and then because I didn't see Balmon, uh, shit sucked. You know. Do I think the memory tamer would help? Not at all. That card is too slow. Did I play any red hybrid today? No, my matchups are right there on the side. I fought 3 War Greys, 3 Hunters, and a BLs, and 1 no-show. Did Luca play this tourney? I don't think so. I think he prefers in-person regionals. So that's the one that he's going to be at. But Luca's been dominating a lot of the online locals that we've done, that I've been going to. Like GFG locals, Mario's Gaming World, that sort of stuff. I'm answering your guys' questions, but I probably should go over the card by card real quick. Though, if you know anything about Bale's EX to imps and starter imps are like obvious. Uh, really like Imp X. The inherit's good. The effect is good especially when you play something off of Beals. I used that to trash the 7th full cluster, which was almost enough to out the board, but just short. We got the standard lineup of 5 4s with the one Witchmon because I wanted a 9th 4. I like. I think I used to go like 3 Wizard X, 2 Witchmon, but I went for 4 Wizard X because I'm starting to like it a lot more as like something as I often evolve it over regular wizard if I like go turn 1 evolve wizard. It's also really good as like a turn 1 evolve because its inherent means that you're still going to get a mill off of it after you evolve it into a Balmon. And speaking of Balmons, the starter deck Balmon is like generally the way to go because of how well you can combo it with Iron Mako to make it like a 1 cost Evo, and because of how much the immediate mill getting you memory can like win you games because of keeping you turn. And I think this Balmon is valuable. You saw my opponent use it really well game 1, and so that this Balmon has merit. But I think mostly when you're going second, right? Because he was able to go, turn 1, 3, 4 Balmon, and that like got him there compared to what I was doing. So I like this ball. This small one has its moments where it comes up. XAT package I like. It comes up for me a couple of times, but it might not for everybody. I think it's definitely cuttable, but I don't know. I think it's nice. Probably the most superfluous cards here are Balmon X and X Antibody and Seventh Full Cluster. I like them for outing specific scenarios that I get into that to help me win games. Um, but they're more often you're also more often than not, if you're high rolling, they don't do anything for you. So you can take that into consideration. Um, 2 and 2 BL split because that feels pretty standard. Sometimes I do want the extra X3 EX2 BLs because the mill effect is nice and because the pop is nice and because I want like an extra target to float into with the Balmon. God, when he evolved into the Balmon and milled that many cards, or when he swung with his Balmon and milled as many cards as he did, that was insane. I swear to God, that was crazy. One blast mode because I needed to find something to cut for the seventh full cluster, and you almost always only ever need the one, and I haven't had trouble finding it when I needed it. I think I talked about 3 slingers and 4 barrage. I had to cut one to fit some of the other options I have here, and I value barrage more because the recursion feels so important in such a piece heavy deck as this. But you can probably get away with moving one barrage off for another slinger, right? It's either one of the two because Impex sometimes makes up for it, or if you're running BT6 Imp, that also makes up for it. Mist Boost is great. Iron Mako is great. Uh, really good, especially early games, early turns where you need to like pass the turn somehow, so you can set up for evolving into one of these cards in the next turn. Yeah, I think that's the full list. Yeah, a lot of losses can be down to not finding a bomb one, which is why I like having the extra. Why would I first turn versus the mirror? I think because you want to be. It's hard to play reactive against this deck because of the floating effects, right? Right? They make a BLs because they made it over a Balmon. It floats. They go into BLs X. If you pop it, it gets 2 bodies. So it's hard to play reactive against them a lot of the time unless you get lucky and get double cluster. Um, so generally speaking, I feel like the move is usually to try to go first and try to be the first person to win, the first person to make a Balmon, the first person to make BLs and BLs X, so on and so forth. Make them have to force themselves to make their opponent forced to think about how to out your lethal, right? Unfortunately, it didn't work out for me today because I just wasn't, you know, not lucky enough, I guess. First check barrage sucked. No mem gain off the warp imp sucked. You know, either of those two things changed, we could have been in a different era. You think with BLX, one blast mode feels better than two? Yeah, there's more than enough games I've won without using blast mode at all, right? Sometimes X antibody works as like a pseudo blast mode as like because it's usually either one or the other helps you get the final attack for game. Either you unsuspend an attack while they have 0 security, or because you used X antibody, you trashed before you did the attack, which still counts as for game. So it's like 2 different ways of doing it, right? And X anti feels safer because you don't have to risk the final check. Yeah, yeah. Establishing Balmon before your opponent makes you just means you're ahead, and you're forcing your opponent to either outmill you to keep up, or to or to find some way to out your board, which is really difficult with just not only just the fact that you float, but just how fast and efficient PLs is, right? I just feel like it just feels really hard to play reactive against Beelzemon. So I want to be the one that's the aggressor, which is why I went for first. Sometimes it feels like going second is better because the extra card draw means you're more likely to find a better hand or whatever. And that also that might be like I think that might be one of the bigger deciding factors is just having a good hand. Game one, didn't see the Balmon, didn't have a good way to pass turn, so I had to pass, and then it was basically GG from there. I don't know, just go first or second, based on whatever feels right. If you're running more of these, then going second probably feels even better. Though keep in mind, this has like a slight weakness. This has some slight weaknesses too, because evolving over it is sometimes you need to evolve over it to pass turn or something, and then you lose the on deletion. Or sometimes because you're swinging with it, they can play around the on deletion by swinging over it, then deleting the Beelzemon that comes out. And if they do that, you'll probably be behind. Especially if you're going second, you give the opponent time to like establish a board. Real quick deck profile. This is what I ran today. This is a 16 rookie build. Very low to the ground is to emphasize on consistency, right? It feels like that was usually the make or break in a lot of matchups, especially like the mirror, is who had the better start. And more rookies just more emphasizes the early game, I think. And it's like a happy in between my old list that was running just EX, Impex, and Impmon and Yaman, and the other list I've been running that's based on Luca's variant that was not running Impmon X, but instead was running BT2 Impmon and Pagu. So this feels like a happy in between. And speaking of happy in between, that's why I went for 2 Witch, 2 Wizard X. Uh, Non-committal on both because they both have their positives. The DP boost on which one comes up sometimes in matchups where you need to be bigger than your opponent's blocker to get past them. And Wizard X is a card I just really like a lot. Mill 2 plus Mill 2 in here is one more mill than Witchmon. The 6K sometimes comes up. The blocker can be funny and comes up sometimes. The Pagu, and I'm running this Balmon split because I wanted to run more of the BT10 Balmon. I think it comes up sometimes. Though some maybe one less might be fine. But I wanted to ensure that I see it on like turn 1 going second, because that's like when this Balmon is the strongest. But yeah, I just wanted to play with this Balmon again since I felt like it was like a choice that I wanted to have back. But yeah, 5 Balmons is nice for seeing it more often. 2-2-2 BL split because I needed to find space for the rookies. I did sometimes miss an extra BLs because there were a couple of moments where I couldn't float my Balmon because I didn't have a BLs in trash, so I might consider cutting one of the Impmon X's to get back a BT an X2 BLs. So, because 15 rookies is probably fine. 4 Deathslinger and 3 Rivals Barrage. Between the single calling and 4 Impmon X, I think 3 Rivals Barrage is probably fine, but there were a couple of moments where it was kind of dicey that I wasn't seeing them. But calling kind of makes up for it. Calling is like a thing I was put onto thanks to Luca. I think it works really well at times, especially for just for like grabbing 2 cards or for proccing your own sub deletions in certain moments where it's really valuable to do so. I had quite a few moments where I milled EX2 Beals, popped out one of these BT2 Impmons, popped it with calling to get back cards, and then milled some more to potentially gain the memory back that I spent on calling. The X antibody also came up for me. This is something I wanted to bring back from my older builds because I felt like it had a lot of application. I'm thinking I might need to bring back Balmon X to help me see it more consistently, but I'm going to follow the same school of logic that Luca said was if you mill it, you mill it. If you see it, you see it. It is what it is. BL Star is also super hot because There's a lot of moments where she helps you push for lethal past like multiple blockers, or helps you push for lethal past having your board clear. So the one of BL Star feels really nice here, and one of Blast Mode because it's Blast Mode. You could run two, but then you'd have to consider sacrificing a Darkness Wave, or calling something else here for the second Blast Mode. One is generally fine because you don't always even need it to win the game. So yeah, and the Darkness Wave is nice for early game mills and is a way to enable BL Star on an empty board. And that should cover it